What's up, YouTubers? It's me, Johnny. Another video. Today is the 27th. It's December 27th in Central America. I'm in Guatemala. It's a nice chilly day today. Nice sunny day. I was just outside doing some errands. It's a really beautiful day here. Not too many people out and about. So still quite a few businesses are closed for the holidays. I think most businesses will be open like after the 1st. So everything will be back to normal. Not much going on down here. I just want to make a few observations. There's a channel called Life with David in Colombia. You might have saw a channel. It's about his life and times living in Colombia. As far as I know, he's a Mexican American who decided to leave the States and live in Colombia more or less. He's a fairly mellow fellow. I think he has the same girlfriend the whole time he's lived down there, so he's not exactly a party animal or anything like that. Not that it matters, but I saw one of his videos a couple days ago. He's in Panama right now, and he's doing, I guess, a visa run. He used to have a business visa, or what he called a business visa, and they're cracking down on that, so he could not get that renewed. He got it renewed a couple times for the 4, 5, or 6 years he's been living there, and he had an interesting comment on some people who just flew from the States into Colombia. They had the vaccine card, but apparently because they only had one vaccine, they wouldn't let them enter the country, and they didn't have the tests. Rather than let them get the tests at the airport, they turned them back to the United States. Now, all I want to say is they let them on. See, I always assume if they let you on the plane, you're good. And so far I'm wrong. Apparently they're used to seeing a vaccine card with 2 entries. I say that because in the United States, you can get the one vaccine where you're one and done. You don't need to take any more vaccines. Like one of my relatives did that. I did the 2. Now I'm kind of glad I did, because apparently in Latin America, more countries are used to seeing the 2 to enter. Now I entered over land, and they didn't even ask for it, much less a test. Anyways, with this new Omicron or whatever it is, some places appear to be being kind of conservative with it. And if you do not have the papers they want, they will send you back. So I thought that was fascinating, interesting. Just if you want to check out his channel, it's Life with David. He also has a few videos on how not to get scammed. I want to bring that up real quickly because there's a lot of YouTubers YouTubing about Colombia, especially the nightlife and the women there. And the women there are fantastic. In fact, if you want to meet beautiful women in Colombia, just go to Panama, or even in Central America, here where I'm at. You can meet quite a few Venezuelan women and women from Colombia and Mexico and in Guatemala, for those of you who don't know that. Now you do. You can meet a lot of Asian girls here. Not a lot. You can meet some Asian girls here from mainly Japan and Taiwan. And then there's your occasional Brazilians that come across here. Anyways, I want to bring that up because there's this one YouTuber, I forget his name. I wish I remembered his channel's name. But anyways, he has a good channel. It's good because you can learn a lot about what not to do. On his channel, he says basically never bring women to your apartment unless you can see their ID. Anyways, a lot of times in these apartments, like in say the Philippines or Colombia or even here, there's a doorman. Not always, but there's usually a doorman. And in some of the colonias, there's like a guard at the entrance, and you have to show them your ID to get in. Why that's important is because if people rob you or do something like that, they have the ID. Usually they write it. Sometimes they write it down. I don't know if they always do, but sometimes they do. Why do I bring this up? Because there is just, if I didn't know any better, I would say there's a rash of robberies going on right now in Colombia. I think it's because of the COVID. People are really, really desperate for money. It could be other trends going on in Colombia, but I think COVID has really, really destroyed the economies of 80% of the world, I'll say. It has destroyed the economies of 80% of the world. So people are resorting to crime like they are in North America. They're doing the same thing in South America. Anyways, this YouTuber who made the video, he's actually been drugged. He didn't have anything go missing. Once he realized he was drugged, he did not drink any more of his drink, and everything worked out. One of his friends got his drink spiked. Everything in his apartment was gone of value. When he woke up, at least he did not die. Some of these drinks are so strongly spiked that people die. That's another reason to be very careful when you're out drinking with people you do not know. Let me just make a quick point. I am not saying this to scare anyone. I am not saying this to scare you from not meeting women. I am not trying to scare you from bringing women home to you wherever you live. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is be careful with the women and your friends if you don't know them very well, if you just met them. Do not bring girls home you don't even really know that well, just because you want intimacy. There's just so many ways. There are so many better ways to go about it without getting robbed. Anyways, the story was this one individual who made this video. I would tell you the name of his channel, I forget. Oh, it's not Carlos. Anyways, I can't think of his name, but his friend, the one time he did not check the girl's ID, came over, they did what they did. Next thing you know, he's out like a light and he loses everything. And then there's other stories of more violent robberies recently in Colombia. I think that's pretty easy to avoid if you stay in tourist areas. That's another thing I've been guilty of. I've gone to really ghetto places in the Philippines. I've gone to really, really dangerous places in the Philippines that you would rarely see a gringo go, and did everything you should not do. Everything turned out right, but you shouldn't do that. Anyways, now that I'm older, I don't do stuff like that. I very rarely drink too much. But if you're in a situation where you're at a bar, you're drinking too much, and you don't know the people you're dealing with, be very, very cautious. If you are going to do all that, do not go out with your ATM card. Just go out with enough cash to get what you're going to do and go home. Keep your cash divided up. I would even go so far as to keep some cash in either in your underwear or your socks or something in case you did get robbed so you have enough money to get home. There was another video of someone who got robbed in Colombia. I forget how they got home, but somehow they got home. Anyways, I can't remember all the videos I watched because I've been watching quite a few now because it's the holidays and I don't watch TV. But anyways, keep your money divided up, or live, work, and play all in the same neighborhood so you don't have to rely on a taxi. That's another thing about taxis I'll just cover real quick. I'll just comment on Central America, but what you can do in Central America, you can do anywhere. And as a generalization, people think it's more dangerous in Central America than, say, Colombia or Ecuador or Lima, Peru, or Peru in general. I will say this, what more well-off Guatemalans do here is they use Uber and or they use a taxi that they know. In other words, they know the Uber driver, they've used him many, many times, or they use the same taxi driver many, many times, and they have a group, they have 2 or 3 guys they can call if they happen to be drinking at a bar and they need to get home. So they've put in time getting to know them, building up trust so nothing ever happens. Now that strategy requires a lot of getting to know, building up trust, I realize that, but really, really, really it's important to do that if you're out in a bar drinking. That's how you kind of get around that. In general, I would say Ubers are safe. I've used Ubers all over. I've never had any issue. I've used them in the capital in Guatemala. I don't think I've used them anywhere else, but I've used taxis from Shela to Guatemala to Coban, like all over the place. I have never been robbed or had an issue, but if you were drunk and it was late at night, there's a chance you could get robbed, especially if the people in that community don't know who you are. You might be a target. So keep that in mind when you're out partying. Or alternative you can do is what a lot of Latins do is they go to the nicer end hotels on New Year's Eve, they rent them out, and then they just do their party thing there and they just stay there for the night. That is what I would recommend if you're going to get a little bit too drunk. Also, too, let me think now, other news. I'm trying to think now, I was going to talk about something else. Well, anyways, I just want my viewers to stay safe and keep in mind, I was just looking today at the news, there's a lot of cancellations of flights. I don't know how much longer that's going to be an issue. In doing my research for flying, I found out there's three classes of tickets when you go on Google Flights or these consolidators like Mamono or Momoto. I'm not sure how you say it. But anyways, you can get the super cheap ticket, the ticket that's a little bit more where you can bring a lot more luggage on for free or included in that price, but it is priced a little higher. And then there's the business class. Business class is the only ticket you can buy where you can more or less guarantee if you get bumped or if there's a cancellation, you get your money back or a credit. I checked, and again, I don't know the legality of this, but I was reading the fine print. If they cancel your flight and you get the cheap ticket, or if you don't show up on your end, you lose your money. But my understanding is if something happens at the airport, you're actually there and your flight gets canceled, they will help you get another ticket for free, but they don't have to legally. Now, that is my limited understanding. Leave it in the comments if you think that's a mistake. I am going by the carriers in the U.S. that I assume, and they're partnered with either U.S. or European airlines, so I do think they have to follow those guidelines and laws of the U.S. and the EU. But apparently, at least with some of the airlines I've been checking, if something happens when you get to the airport and they can't fly, they don't have to refund. They can and they might, but they don't have to. They will try to rebook you, and if they can't rebook you, then you're just shit out of luck. This is what I don't like about traveling right now during these COVID times and whatever else is going on in the world. Also, too, I saw some news that I was not aware of. Right now, because of the COVID, you Google this and check it out for yourself. This may have changed, but I saw a video where you cannot send mail to many. If you're in the United States, you cannot send mail to like Australia, New Zealand, some parts of Europe. Just interesting news. I don't know what that means. More interesting news. Life with David, he made a point. I forgot to mention this. Life with David, he made a point. He thinks in the future, Colombia is going to make it so you're going to have the vaccine, the 2 vaccines, and the booster, and a COVID test. So far, according to him, when he made his video, that's not the case. That may have changed in the last day or two, but so far, you either need COVID test or the vaccine. But like I said in his video, there are people who had the 1 vaccine, and I don't know if it was the one and done or they just had one of the first ones, but whatever the issue was, they were allowed on the airplane in the U.S. And again, according to him, he said 9 people, when they landed in Colombia, they turned them right around. They wouldn't let them enter the country. So he was claiming, and I think it might be true. I don't know how true this is because right now people are in a panic about Omicron. Personally, I think it's a nothing burger, but just because it's a nothing burger doesn't mean many governments around the world aren't going to use this as an excuse to shut down their economies and shut down their societies. So he's saying expect it to get worse where you're going to need all the vaccines and the booster, and you're going to have to get a test from your home country before you're allowed into Colombia. Now, I hate to see that happen, but it appears to be that's happening in many countries. So far, my understanding is Peru and Colombia, that's not the case yet. I expect that it could be the case soon. So I'm hoping to get my travel before that even happens. Again, it's not a big deal if these COVID tests were cheap, but they're, like in Mexico, they're 15 to 20, 25 bucks, but in Central America, they're like $100 to $200. And there's still a few countries from Uruguay to Thailand where you still need traveler's insurance. You need all that paperwork of your vaccines, plus you need to pay insurance just to visit the country. Now, my friend said it's super cheap in Thailand, and to him, super cheap is $600 for 6 months. So if you see, it's basically $100 a month. He claims. I don't know how many people, like budget travelers, are going to want to pay $600 for insurance you can only use for COVID. Like you have from other things that happen, you probably won't be able to use it. Now, I don't know that, but I'm just thinking if you had a heart attack or something, or you had like, I don't know, some weird thing happen to you, you had to go to the hospital, they probably wouldn't even cover you. You'd probably have to pay out of pocket because it's not COVID related, because you only paid for COVID. But if you're paying $100 a month for insurance that may not do you any good, especially if you already got the vaccine and they require you to have the vaccine to enter the country, and you don't ever get to use insurance. So it's just like, it seems like these governments are using the COVID thing as an excuse to collect more and more money in the form of insurance or taxes or fees or whatever. I expect that to happen too. Two, I expect a lot of countries are going to add like 10, 20, $30 to your airplane ticket, and it's going to be allegedly used for COVID or whatever. It's just going to go in the government's pockets because a lot of these governments are broke. Like I said, or like I've been saying in previous videos, in general, Western governments are broke. We're getting closer and closer to another economic crisis. I expect the dollar to strengthen, and then eventually it's not. But between now and then, you're going to see more countries like Turkey, more and more emerging countries like Turkey, where their currencies are just going to fall against the dollar and the euro, and it really could create a lot of economic chaos. And into that, probably the Fed and the EU, but especially the Fed, will want to bail these countries out because they're allies, and if they don't bail them out, they could cause an economic crisis. Let's look at Turkey. Why would the Fed or the EU bail out Turkey? I'll tell you why. Because BBVA, the big Spanish bank, owns I was going to say a fuck ton. They own a lot of Turkish, I don't want to call subprime debt, but they own a lot of assets in Turkey, or bonds and stuff like that, that's in default or will be in default. Really, really, really subprime type assets. That's why if those assets ever totally break down and that causes an economic crisis all around the world, the Fed and the EU will step in to bail these countries out, probably causing these currencies to really collapse more, even more, even more, even more. I think what we've seen in Lebanon and Turkey is just the beginning of something really, really bad. We'll have to wait and see. In that case, you'll probably want to own some gold and some Bitcoin, and if you can, some land in a country that's safe, or what you think is safe, kind of a safe haven country. Not investment advice, I'm just saying that's how I see it. Anyways, the future could be really, really, it's going to be really, really good for some people, really, really bad for other people. But right now, I think we're building up to an economic crisis, and a lot of money is going to be made, a lot of money is going to be lost. And while all this is happening, a lot of the North Americans and Europeans' freedom and liberty is going to be taken away. So that being the case, I plan on living outside the U.S. more and more. I expect a lot of Europeans are going to do the same. So you might want to get your residency set up if you really desire it, or get your plan B as far as earning money outside the U.S. before you're prohibited from. I don't think you can ever be prohibited from leaving, but some people think that. I don't think so, but we'll have to wait and see. But I just see what's happening in Mexico, where there's more and more gringos and Canadians and Europeans flooding in, and prices just going up and up, up and up and up and up. So the answer to that is to make sure you have a plan B, flexible on your plan B, and live in a place you like living that's affordable before all hell breaks loose. Anyway, that's it for tonight. Like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, and have a good day wherever you are in the world.